Hi everyone, it's Roger and James here from the What's on Disney Plus podcast. In this week's episode, we're going to be talking all about those Marvel Netflix series. We're going to be talking about a new series of Ice Age shorts, plus I'll be sharing our thoughts on No Exit and some other bits and pieces. So before we do any of that, just a quick bit of housekeeping. If you haven't already done so, make sure you do go check us out over at whatsondisneyplus.com, and you can find us on all the social medias. Hit that subscribe button here on YouTube, and you can also do the same on audio platforms. So let's jump into some of the news. There's been a little bits and stuff this week. First off, a brand new series of shorts has been announced, which is Ice Age Scrat Tales. This is coming to Disney Plus on April the 13th. It's going to consist of 6 shorts. So they will be arriving on the same day. Somehow Scrat is now a father and has got a new kid with the nut. I mean, this is such a kind of Lion King-esque poster. I mean, we knew this one was in kind of development for a while, but I thought this was done because there's been a lot of talk about like Scrat not being owned by Disney and how hosts and stuff. And then this one's come out, and the fact that Scrat wasn't in the Ice Age Adventures of Buck Wild is like, well, maybe that is just nope. It's like no, he's got his own series. 6 shorts. I mean, I always thought Scrat was kind of the best bits of the Ice Age movies. So for me, it's like, great, let's give us some more Scrat. But yes, I think this is great. It's definitely fun kind of seeing the Disney kind of already revving up for its April lineup. But yeah, I thought this one looked pretty cool.
Yeah, as someone who was never really a big fan of the Ice Age movies, I would say Scrat was normally the best part of the movies. And he works well in the short format and like the old cartoon format from back in the day, Looney Tunes and Merry Melodies and things like that. So these should be pretty good. Should be entertaining, and hopefully they're giving some of their animation talent and writer talent a chance to practice the way that Pixar does with the Spark shorts and so on.
Yeah, I mean, it was along the lines of I saw it. It's like, yeah, that sounds great. It was kind of one of those things of. It's like, this is the perfect use of Ice Age. I don't know whether or not we needed it as quickly as now. It might have been maybe like, well, why didn't you guys hold on to it maybe till like the winter? Kind of rather than dropping it in the middle of spring. Considering we've just had the Ice Age movie, and like here in Europe, we're not getting it until the 25th of March. It's literally like 3-4 weeks after the new movie comes out. It would have been... I mean, in some ways, I get the dropping 6 shorts at once. But yeah, it's a bit of an odd one. But I'm definitely a surprise release. I was not expecting that announcement.
No, I remember they announced it a while back, and then we just kind of forgot about it. I'm betting they were kind of hoping that there might be a resurgence of interest in Ice Age with the new movie, and they could have some more content right afterwards. And that might work out, because I know people have been watching the movie, if not in the numbers they probably wanted. It's still getting watched. So
well, the new Ice Age movie was, I think it was on number 3 on the original movies Nelson charts this week. So it was one of the most popular films across all streaming. Whether or not how long that lasts, I don't know. But it's not going to have the same legs as Encanto. But enough people went in and checked it out, which is good. I mean, especially kids and stuff. I'm sure they loved it.
I also don't trust the Nielsen streaming charts at all, but but it is good to see them recognizing things like that.
Yes. Also, last night we had an announcement of the Better Nate Than Ever. This is a brand new movie that's going to be coming to Disney Plus on the 1st of April. So again, we're already into the April lineup. So this is a new musical comedy that stars Ruby Wood as Nate, who was a small town kid with big Broadway dreams, not broadband dreams. He just wants a really good internet connection. But there's also one problem for aspiring theatre star. He can't land a part in his school play. So when his parents leave town, Nate and his best friend Lily sneak off to New York for a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to star. Everything then goes wrong. They release some new images and stuff of here, including Joshua from High School Musical, the series, because also this new movie has been written and also is directed by the creator of the High School series as well. And also was behind Fernandad, was one of the writers on that one. So we got a first look at this one. Kind of definitely, to me, sort of fits into the whole sort of Disney... I wouldn't necessarily say Disney Channel originals, but I mean, like the New York and stuff. I mean, this all looks great. I mean, it's just seen here of him in a theater. It's going to be good. If you like theater stuff, I think this is going to be a great movie.
Yeah, I know absolutely nothing about this, but I'm always down for a good musical. Emphasis on good, so we'll make
Yeah,
sure that this one
yeah.
holds up.
I think it'll be a few weeks' time. I'll be able to talk about it, so that's gonna be good. Moving on from there, like I said, we had a few little bits and pieces. We also had an update from Uncle Rick about the upcoming Percy Jackson Disney Plus series. He over the Super Bowl weekend, they flew out to Los Angeles and kind of got to put together a load of the cast, but they haven't kind of sort of officially signed yet, but they kind of did a bit of testing with them, of putting them together, seeing how the kids get on, seeing how they react, see what the chemistry's like, to kind of maybe make their mind on who they're going to cast in the main characters. So they've definitely kind of getting to that late stage. Filming is set to start in June. They then flew up to Vancouver, where they went to Mammoth Studios. And they're building the sets. They've got all the costumes being built right now, and it's actually being filmed right next to the new FX series Shogun, which is going to be obviously this sort of Star original. So there's going to be a lot of activity up there. So I mean, it's probably going to be a while off till probably end of next year till we see it. But things are really starting to pick up steam now. If they're building sets and they're getting the costumes ready and kind of getting ready to pick the kids, this one's looking pretty good.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to this, and I'm always glad to see how involved Rick appears to be with this series. I hope it's not just Disney kind of walking him around and making him feel important, that he actually does have feedback on this, because I think he is their best PR for this at this point, because he's speaking directly to the fans, and if he can keep going, hey, this is not the other movies that I am involved. This is true enough to my vision, because the adaptation is never going to be 100% true. Then that will get a lot of people excited about this, particularly people who maybe don't normally go after Disney properties.
And also, it's kind of interesting because this was there was an article that got sent to me about Puck News, and they did a story about how Disney branded television has really struggled to kind of bring content to Disney Plus. We've not really had any major breakout hits. We had all the kerfuffle with what was going on with the Beauty and the Beast sequel, and one of the things that got brought up was not having creators in there kind of being able to do stuff that they need to, because when Disney are involved in their IPs and stuff, they're very much controlling it from an upper level and stuff. And Percy Jackson's not at that, because it's kind of his baby, and he got the books and stuff. So Disney aren't quite as controlling. And so then this is what we need, more of Disney, of less control from the higher ups, and you need those creative people coming up with those decisions and kind of giving feedback. So I'm really hoping Percy Jackson could be the one big Disney branded series that we need to kind of pull people in. We've got Willow and stuff coming up later this year, which is not really a Disney branded one, but it's not Star Wars. This is like, because as much as it's like it's Lucasfilm, yeah, well, we think of it as Star Wars. Disney Plus needs more content that's under that Disney banner to grab more attention, because at the minute, everything coming out of I feel like has been very much just a slightly higher quality Disney Channel content, and that just is not good enough for mainstream audiences.
Yeah, and some of them have been significantly better than what you would normally associate. I'm thinking mostly of the Mysterious Benedict Society and parts of Longshot. We obviously praise that, but that's definitely on the slightly better than Disney Channel stuff. But they're not doing a great job of advertising, and those ones, they're not generating very much buzz in social media and word of mouth. We do our best to point out ones that we really like, but there's only so much you can do.
Well, this is the thing. Something like Big Shots, like had that been on like a mainstream ABC show, I don't think it would have really pulled much attention anyway. I think it would have been a bit like, oh, it's not quite doing what they want. But yes, I'm hoping at some point, we are going to get those breakout series, because there's a lot of attention right now on like the Marvel and the Star Wars stuff, and there's a lot of attention now sliding over to the Hulu side of kind of going, oh, Only Murders was good, and Dope Sick is good. The Dropout is really good. We'll be talking about that a little bit later. But they're starting to rev up a little bit, and people are going, oh, of course, for us internationally, that's all on Disney Plus. They are Disney Plus originals for us internationally. So we're getting these big, like, mainstream shows, but people aren't. It's like, again, they're just this constant uphill battle of trying to get the branding across after all this time. But yeah, it's good that they're working on it. At least we got an update. But yeah, Disney definitely need to work more on getting this kind of content in.
Yep. And as you said, it's going to be a while before we get that. They haven't even started shooting, and this will be a special effects heavy show, which means there's a lot of post-production work. The end of next year, maybe. This is going to be a rough one.
Yeah, it's going to take a while. Moving on from there, this past week we had the lists released for what's coming to Disney Plus in Australia. We also have the one that's coming to Canada. Now, the interesting thing with the one to Canada is a few days later, we then got an email with a revised version of it. And this is the interesting thing with the revised version is that it had confirmation that we're going to be getting in Canada, at least, on this Wednesday, the 16th of March. We're going to get all of the sort of Marvel Netflix series, including Daredevil, Punisher. You got like Luke Cage. You've got all the ones in there. And this one kind of caught a lot of people because there's been a lot of speculation of what was going to happen with the Defenders, and the whole, are they going to edit them? Are they going to put them on there? Is this the back way in for Star? Is this the way? Are they going to do it? And generally, it's been pretty quiet. I was not expecting any announcement until we got into March. To be honest, I was not expecting. I thought Netflix, they just have to leave Netflix and then Disney can do something. There might have been scheduled an announcement this week, but obviously a lot of stuff happened this week which delayed and changed all the plans of what they were planning. And it makes total sense. It's ultimately, the Netflix series aren't that important. But the Canada release coming from Disney definitely sent out the signal. And then it kind of, it caught on. It went everywhere around the internet of like, it's coming to Disney Plus. And then everyone was like, what do you mean, in Canada? And like, why not in the US? And it's like, because there's still a lot of Americans and stuff that are unfamiliar that Disney Plus internationally has got a lot of content. If you're listening to this podcast, you're probably clued in. You're on our website, you're on our YouTube channel. You hear us talking about this stuff all the time. But there's a lot of people that aren't and only see what's in front of their screen when they log into it. But this is going to be a big step. We've got I personally am thinking that annual shareholders. That is the day to announce something like that. That will really get a lot of people. That will get a lot of attention if they make that announcement on the annual shareholders or just before it, which is I think the 9th of March. So yeah, I definitely personally I'm not expecting anything from anyone. I think it was a little bit of a mistake for Disney to send it out from Canada, to be honest.
I wonder if they maybe had a different licensing agreement in Canada between them and Netflix, and maybe they forgot the clauses that would prevent them from talking about it, or it might just be a straight up mistake.
Yeah.
But yeah, as we talked about last week, even if it's not like officially a legal clause, don't talk about it until it's off the service, because we don't want these companies tend to have like handshake agreements of don't sabotage my business, I won't sabotage your business kind of deal, at least not overtly. And yeah, sure, they'll have like little Twitter feuds and shake their fists at each other, but really all these companies, they want money, and that's what it ends up being.
Yeah, I mean this is happening on Monday. They're leaving Netflix on Monday, on the 28th. So on the 1st, that'll be the end of them. I did actually go onto Netflix and just check where I was and what I'd seen and what I hadn't, because I didn't realize when I went through them all. I've hardly watched the last season of all of them. I think when I knew that they were gone, I just like choked. I think I watched Daredevil, and that was like the other ones I just didn't bother with. So I'll be honest, I think I'm going to be like, I'm going to probably make my way through these and do one at a time. At least, well, I know the Luke Cage, Iron Fist, and Punisher, I didn't watch the second seasons of any of them. So that's like, I want to jump in and see them out. But it's not a surprise internationally. Where else are they going to go? Why wouldn't they come to Disney Plus outside the US? Because we've got, and there is this like misconception, and I did actually want to bring this up because I've seen there's a few people saying about this, people sort of say about like being in Star. The thing is, these are not going to be in Star. These will be in Marvel. When we go into the Marvel section, here, for example, in the UK, you've got Hitmonkey. You've got, we've got Logan, we've got, Deadpool and all the rest of it in here. Because, as I say, we've got like, Star is like a different brand, so therefore it would just come under the Marvel section. Then it does, just because it's a kind of like this weird thing of Star has been like integrated with like mature content. It's like, no, it's the same thing with National Geographic. If there's a National Geographic documentary, that's if I go into, for example, into National Geographic here in the UK, you're gonna see other content. This isn't Star content; it's National Geographic branding. And I just, it was something I wanted to bring up of like when I talked about this. Going, it's not coming to Star. It'll be in the Marvel section. It's such a weird way of like, it's so confusing. I think over the year of what's happened with it all.
I think some of the confusion too is the part where it comes to Star internationally and it comes to Hulu in America. So you start to associate it less with Disney Plus and more with Hulu from the American perspective.
Yeah.
And in that sense, Hulu is a completely different brand, right? So we start to think of Star as a different brand that just happens to be connected to Disney Plus. It is not a different brand. It is Disney Plus. It's just the banner under which non-Star Wars, non-Marvel, non-Disney, non-National Geographic content goes.
Yeah, it is such a strange thing. This is just a Disney Plus homepage, and as you can see, if you're watching the video, we've got all the movies and all the shows and stuff all integrated next to each other. There is just no differential between it. It's just, like I said, between the brands. It's new to Disney Plus because there's a lot of like people. Well, it's on, different ways of talking about Star, and what is in Star is just basically everything that comes under those brands. It doesn't come under a normal brand. But yeah, it is a strange one. But I'm hoping, like I said, I wouldn't be at all surprised now if Disney just hold off on that announcement for another week, and really make some headlines with maybe an outline of what they're doing with the general entertainment side in the US, because it's very messy. They've not announced anything for March or April that's kind of anything general entertainment. And yeah, I just feel like we're at a point now where we need some information, and you can't keep saying it's coming. Like you started, but because there are quite a few people have commented as well of like noticing some of those documentaries that have been dropping on and the ABC News that have been dropping on to Disney Plus in the US of going, well, you're doing this. This is like weird, and it's starting to grab people's attention and going like, seeing, the Malcolm X documentary on the homepage and seeing Blackish and stuff and going, oh, they're starting to notice that things are dropping in on Disney Plus in the US.
Yeah, and hopefully most people are kind of intrigued by it rather than I don't want this adult trash on my thing. We know both will, but
yeah. Well, in fact, we have had, there has been some questions and stuff. There's been some comments from people, saying, I don't want to have it. I want to have, I've never had to restrict access to Disney Plus to my kids and all the rest of it. And it's that kind of thing of like, there is stuff on the US version of Disney Plus right now that is maybe not suitable for 8, 9, 10-year-olds. There is, but there's never really been a need for them to do much about it. Someone did put a good question on the group recently going, well, how do I hide stuff? And I replied to them and was like, your best bet is if you want to look through Disney Plus together, make a new profile with whatever age appropriate setting you want. If you want it to be 12 or 14, set that and use that as your family account, and then have your own account for you. And there's like, you can see that kind of thing like, there you go.
Yeah.
rather like thinking out like, just make a profile for the family rather than individually trying to hide stuff. I mean, it would just be impossible. Obviously, when Star got enabled here in the UK and around the world, we had to basically opt in, and you could go in and change. And there's a little option inside your settings that you could do it. But also, they enabled the same actual parental controls got activated in the United States. They all got updated on the same day because it was the global platform. It's just the 16 and the 18 certificate stuff is like turned off on the US accounts, because there's a lot of like Americans that are maybe trying to access it when they come on holiday, or using other methods, and they're kind of going, well, why can't I see this stuff? It's like, well, yeah, because the US accounts technically can't see above a 14. It's literally going to be a case of just turning a switch on, because every other country's got it already, so it's already built into the system.
Well, we had the thing where they turned it on over here, and I think the first time I logged in after they turned it on, is like your rating is set to anything, because I wasn't going to restrict my own content. I'm the only person on the account.
You mean you don't use the kids' account?
I probably should. I've got the right mental age for it, but but I think, presuming the Marvel stuff from Netflix hops on, let's just say that's going to happen. They need to probably pop that message up again for American accounts. And if we're being honest, they probably need to do a little bit of a PSA campaign to, go on YouTube. And wouldn't it be great if they could get like Charlie Cox or someone to do like Daredevil and do an explanation of the age rating system like you used to get in the 90s?
Well, when Star launched, they did do that. They did it everywhere. They got new commercials. They even did it in the US. They put one out there as well, of an animated one showing you the difference of the age settings and stuff. And they even put that video straight in on like the new on Disney Plus tab. They did do that in the past, but obviously before. And it's that kind of thing of like, if you're using any streaming service, you've got to do this. This is just standard streaming technology. I mean, you even have to do it on my own cable, on my satellite dish. You have to set parental controls when you first get it. And if you try and watch something at like 2:00 in the afternoon, you have to put a PIN code in. I mean, yeah, I did change it to just zeros, because it's like, well, that's just me. So I can remember it. It's just
there have definitely been a couple of systems over the year where it's like, you have to enter a PIN code. And I'm like, really? And are my cats gonna order pay-per-view without my knowledge if I don't put this in here?
Yeah, it was that thing of, I did get a little bit worried when one of my kids' friends were playing Fortnite on my PlayStation. Like, oh no, it's unlocked. Like, I've now got every single. I've just brought 10,000 V-Bucks.
I hope you enjoy your Boba Fett skin.
Yeah, it's a little bit of fun, but yeah, so it is something to be aware of. Now, this past week was actually an interesting one, because it was the first year anniversary Disney Plus added Star internationally, and kind of a year on, there's been a lot of improvements. There's a lot of stuff that's worked really well. I mean, it's definitely far exceeded my expectations of how much more Disney Plus I watch now. I mean, like I said, it's I'm currently sort of doing a binge of Modern Family, but Pam and Tommy, and a great series. I'm really looking. We've got new episodes of The Walking Dead dropping every Monday right now. We just watched The Kingsman recently. There's a lot of great stuff here, and it is just great having just a lot more variety. And I think that's definitely the key thing with it. We've seen it evolve over the last year. The branding, moving away from it's Star to then just being advert. The Pam and Tommy advert literally mentions Star once. There's no sign of the logo. It is literally coming to Disney Plus, and they just put an 18 certificate above there. They're doing the same with the Kingsman right now. They have changed their branding because it was a little bit confusing, because people were thinking it was something else. So they have tweaked it, what they're doing. Even like in America now, like the press releases have started mentioning that it's on Disney Plus under the Star banner. That's the new term that they're using. Even like if you go on the Kardashians' website on the new social medias and stuff, it specifically states, Disney Plus and Star Plus in Latin America, because I think they're very much finding that social media and stuff, things are flying around the internet at full steam, and I am wondering if sometimes that's why some of the stuff is being delayed a little bit, because of confusion from like the Hulu and Star and the Disney Plus and all the rest of it. But they've been experimenting, trying some different things out, and I'm hoping, my honest heart is that I hope, next month that they announce that you guys are getting it, or getting something similar, to streamline the world a bit, to streamline what they're doing. I'm sort of looking at it already going, well, where does that, like, for example, those ABC and Blackish, where does that sit on the hubs? Because it doesn't fit into any of the 5. There's going to have to be somewhere eventually, if they start adding this stuff. And it's like, well, yeah, will they go the full hog? Don't know. It depends. Have they not made a deal with Hulu, or Hulu with Comcast, and like, no, we're not selling it for 2 years. And okay, right. If you're not selling it for 2 years, we're going to go with Plan B now. Maybe maybe that's been part of it. I don't know. It's just, but a year on, there's still some teething issues. I would like for worldwide releases to be a little bit more lined up. Just literally yesterday, they announced that Fresh has been delayed 2 weeks. Coming out on I think the 4th of March, and it's been pushed back 2 weeks. How You Met Your Father has been pushed back 2 months in Europe. Why? I don't know. It's coming out in Canada on the same day. Why is Australia getting drunk single drunk female and Abbott Elementary already, but we don't? There's the releases are all over the place. Even just like some of the library content is a little bit higgledy-piggledy. Obviously, you get licensing issues, but there is just that issue. There's still problems. For example, like in Australia, the FX content is still kind of put somewhere else. I think it's on Binge. Canada's still got issues there with ABCs. So still, like, release schedules are still all over the place. But I mean, we're getting to a point now where we're having to have multiple day releases because there's just too much coming in at once. Australia's recently started doing that with, like, even on Fridays, they've started dropping the new second season of Dollface on Fridays because it's like there's so much stuff dropping on Wednesdays of like spreading it out a little bit.
Yeah, and I want them to spread it out a bit more internationally. I'll come back to the American release in a second. But yeah, the two big reasons why something gets delayed in one country but not is licensing, which you already mentioned, and then rating review boards, whatever the local version of that is. Sometimes companies will get pushback, and what's acceptable in France might not be acceptable in Spain, and so they go, we need you to make a small change, or perhaps we're not happy with the subtitles that you provided for a non-English speaking country, and so on. And there's just tons of reasons why they get this block.
There's also dubbing and subtitle issues as well. It almost feels like if there's a delay maybe for like one language, they're delaying it for everyone rather than which I don't think that's the best idea. It would make more sense for them because they were having this problem before. They would just be like, oh, it's not out in the Netherlands, for example, because of problems. Well, it's like, well, I don't know. It's very difficult. It's a bit like if out in the US, if you turn around and oh yeah, but everyone in Minnesota can't have it, so therefore you've all got to have it delayed by 2 months. There would be uproar. It would be like if you didn't tell everyone, you'd be all right. But once you've made it out there, it's difficult to take it back once you've put out a release date.
That has actually happened before, where certain states have been like, no, with the content. Now, this was a long time ago, but that has actually happened. And I was thinking about this actually last night with the translations thing, subtitles, dubbing. I'm actually going to shift over to video games real fast. The Final Fantasy VI game just came out, re-release here on Steam and Switch. And I remember playing it as a kid. And there were, even as a kid, I was like, some of these lines are a little bit weird. Like it's not wrong, but it's not something that someone would say, or you picked a really weird word for this sentence, things like that. And it's even worse if you get with the older Final Fantasy games. And it's like the translation requirements back in the day, because these were in the 90s, weren't that big. And that's why you end up getting like the old Gundam memes and things like that. Whereas today we expect quite a bit of accuracy from subtitles and dubbing. It's understood it's not going to be exact. You can never do a proper translation, but we're never going to get like you spoony bard moment again, because like, what does that even mean? But
and also they can patch stuff easier now, because before once they got it set out, that was the end of it.
But the point I'm going with this is that a lot of these countries, when you are sending the content, they expect your subtitles and your dubs to be accurate. They're not going to tolerate this kind of mishmash Google Translate subtitles. So that when you're sitting there, I don't know, you're in Spain and you're watching it in that language, and it's like, what does this sentence even mean? That's not acceptable anymore.
It's quality. It's quality control. And ultimately, if you're charging someone for content, they should be getting the best quality. I think what's happened, because I was reading earlier this week, generally, like for example, like Netflix will tend to, a lot of it's always been this kind of thing like, well, they've got such a big backlog. of content. They're set for 6 to 8 months in advance because they tend to get it ready, then get all the localization done, and then they release it. Whereas Disney kind of have been in this situation of get it out in this market because that's where it's supposed to be. I'll worry about the rest of the world later. They're not important. And I think that's always been an issue with some of the studios, and not just Disney, where it's always been a bit like, as long as it's out where it needs in the main country, that's all that mattered, and everything else was on the side. Of course, the world is changing, much faster. If you put out there on a social media tweet or a YouTube channel video, and if you start blocking stuff, it makes it even worse, and hiding things, because it's a global marketplace now. When you say that it's coming on April 1st, that's what everybody expects. They don't expect this whole, well, you said the first, but I now need to go and find the local version of it. It's like, no, it's not working with the internet. And I think they're really finding this. It's like Snowdrop. Well, why was Snowdrop dropped in like the UK and Canada, not at the same time as Australia? Because obviously the dubbing and the subtitles are the same, it's the same.
What dubbing? There was no dubbing.
Yeah, well, there isn't there. I do know, like with the American version, they did edit a little bit on the subtitles a bit to make it a 14, which is a lot easier with with subtitles. You can just remove it and it doesn't, get rid of it. But there is that kind of issue, and I think they're going to have to work that out with Star. There's been some new shows like The Grid and Rookie Cops dropping in Australia and around the APAC regions, but it hasn't made it to EMLA and also into the Americas yet. And they've got to tweak this. They've got to work out what they're doing. And also, I think as they start catching up with production and everything's kind of slides back into normal, they will get into a proper groove of how to do it. There's still an element, I think, of like trying to catch up and just get everything on there.
And I think there's one other big element to keep in mind, which is a lot of the countries, in order to get Disney Plus streaming there, they had to sign various clauses that X percentage of content on your service will be from our country. I know England had that back when they were going to launch. I'm sure that almost every country has some clause on that. So in certain cases, they're going to be like, okay, we've got the South Korean show. We need to get our percentage of South Korean stuff up in the APAC regions. Throw it on there and we'll get it everywhere else later. Yeah. We will probably see less of this as the content kind of stabilizes, but that is, I think, the last big factor. There's a lot of little smaller ones. We won't bother going into those.
Yeah. But generally, I must say, going into like year 2 of Star now, the release schedule, like I said, I'd like a little bit more global unity of what they're doing. Just make it so, like, if it's a Star original, it's a Star original in the same way it is a Disney Plus original. Therefore, everyone gets it. Everyone gets it on the same date. Don't mess it up. Don't jump. So everyone can talk about it, because I think they're probably finding as well of the talk doesn't get as high because it's like all over the place. And there's that whole social media when I'm having a chat on Twitter and stuff, we're from different countries, we're all from all over the place, and that's becoming quite normal. And if you tell them, oh no, don't ruin it, I need to come out the chat or something like that, it's just like, it's not good.
Remember when Mandalorian, of course, season 1, it had been out in America since the launch, and it was out in England, almost a full year later?
It was about 6
to 8 months.
But it wasn't. The trouble is, and I distinctly, I'd go to my Star Wars gaming club, and I had watched it on Disney Plus because I had ways, but all my friends had just downloaded illegal copies. None of them were sitting there, I'm going to wait until it's out legally. No, they watched it. They lost it. It was like, well, it's the same thing with the Marvel shows, and I'll be honest, it's like, I see why. Why you've got all this hype for it and you don't get it out. That's if people will find other ways, as Jeff Goldblum always says.
I mean, we have plenty of examples of it. That one's the obvious one. I remember I've brought this one up before. Game of Thrones season 1. It was not available digitally anywhere. You couldn't buy it on iTunes. You couldn't buy it on Amazon. Those were basically the only 2 digital platforms at the time. And so people pirated it, and people were literally going, hey, HBO, sell us this digitally. We will pay for it. We will give you money. And HBO's, nope, you got to have the HBO. And of course, people pirated it. The Beatles were not available on CD for a very, very long time. We're dating myself on this one. You could not get the Beatles on CD, so people were like, all right, I'm going to get a copy from my friend over here, or later I'm going to download it off LimeWire and probably get 30,000 viruses in the time. If it's not available legally, people will search out illegal things. And you can't use the argument, well, people are going to do it illegally anyway. Yes, that's true. Yeah. But you are ignoring a giant audience of people who are just like, take my money. I want this product if you provide it.
If you make it easy and affordable, people will usually most of the time take that option because it's the easiest option, and that's what people like. But no, it's a very strange one. Kind of like I said, a year on from Star, it has been. I think it is completely just it changed Disney Plus. I mean, you must look at like that as a screen and just be like, I wish I had that.
Well, see, this is what I was getting at. I didn't even turn Disney Plus on this week. I turned it on Sunday and I watched an episode of Snowdrop, and then I didn't turn it on at all this week. I turned on Hulu to watch No Exit, but I'll turn on Disney this weekend because I think the Proud Family came out this week, right? So I'll check that out this weekend. But otherwise, I didn't even open it this week.
No, and I'll be honest. I mean, we watch. Obviously, there's sometimes I watch stuff in advance, so therefore, I sort of have already seen it. But I would have watched, things like No Exit and like Walking Dead and Pam and Tommy. I've seen, but I would have not, and Kingsman, etc. But it is just generally like a lot of stuff. Like me and my wife, we love watching Big Sky, so we'll probably watch a new episode of that either tonight or tomorrow. Unfortunately, a new reality TV series has started, and we've been watching that. And sometimes it's just nice just to chill out and watch something different. But yeah, so just generally as a whole, it's been pretty good. Now, hopefully, as I said, the US will get some idea of what's going on. Whether or not you get the full Star treatment, I don't know. But to me, if and I said this to a few people who've asked me in like messages and stuff this week about like what it's like it's 50-50 right now, what's going to go on. And if you'd asked me before Christmas, I probably would have said without a shadow of a doubt that those Netflix series are going to just go to the Hulu. I honestly was just like, look, I don't think America's ready for it. But all the moves that they've made in the last 2 months are just like, oh, there's a lot of doubt because you can't have Big Bob coming out there saying we're putting more stuff on there and we'll be having more of it coming soon, and bringing in Daredevil and Kingpin back into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it's like, and then doing live stream testing, and then start adding in documentaries and some of the big sitcoms they've got, and like West Side, where does Free Guy and West Side Story fit into the Disney Plus bubble, and you start going, look, all of these things are just sending mixed messages, and I think Disney do need to get, but whether or not it's like, oh, we're going to get Star in September or something like that, and we're going to be dropping stuff right through the year, because I think that's not a bad idea. Just slowly just start weaning stuff in there every single week rather than dropping like with us. 1,000 movies and TV series overnight, because that's a big marketing campaign and a big shift to do that.
Right. The one concern that they probably have with like putting Star branding on Disney Plus before potential Hulu merge is that you're still going to have stuff that's going to be Star Plus internationally and Hulu domestically, and people are not going to get it. They're gonna be like, well, this advertisement says that such and such is coming to Star Plus, and it's like, yeah, it's coming internationally. It's actually on Hulu here. You need to read the next line as well. And they probably want to avoid that confusion. But I also agree, the sooner they put Star as a little box in the American version of Disney Plus, the more likely they'll be able to get people to just accept that it is part of the brand.
And the only thing as well is like, could they share Hulu and Star Originals? Because Peacock share, they've been sharing all their DreamWorks stuff, and some of their shows. I don't know. It's very tricky. It's a very tricky one. I feel like I personally wouldn't be opposed to them starting to fill out the Marvel and the National Geographic stuff. Start filling that out with Cloak and Dagger, a load of National Geographic documentaries. Maybe you start doing that to fill out the general entertainment, start pulling in some sitcoms, and maybe just go slowly. Just start putting in some PG-13 films, and then when you can turn around and go, well, oh yeah, we'll start. We're going to put the star tab in, and we're going to bring some more stuff in. But you've already got like a few hundred, and it might make the monthly lists look a lot better. They just draw people in to Disney Plus. I just don't know if I mean, it's like you could put things like Buffy the Vampire Slayer in there. You could put How I Met Your Mother. You could put Modern Family, Futurama. You really could just start with but the trouble is if they put Daredevil in there, and that's the end of it. They can't use that TVMA, or we don't put any. We have. Well, why is it okay for them but not for that? It's going to be very tricky.
Yep, and as tricky as it is to speculate on, I'm sure that they have had many meetings with lawyers and directors and everybody getting input on this, which may or may not be a good thing because.
But also they've got real data now, and this is the key. This is not just a case of if you'd said to us like 18 months ago, we're all been like speculating on well, it's happened. We're a year on from it being introduced. They've launched. When Disney Plus launches in new countries, they automatically get it. They're not even messing about with it anymore. It's just included. The data is shown that it's a success, and I think that's probably what's making them a lot. Because then they go, well, we've done it in all these other countries. We've got Disney Plus in 65 countries. Well, okay, so 45 of them have got it. And it's working. It's like, well, they know it now. And when people say, "Oh, they're not going to do that because of Hulu," like they have done it. It's hard to. It's a kind of weird thing of when they've already done it somewhere. It takes away the they could do it or they might not. No, they have already done it and they have the data, and therefore it's no longer a case of. It's not necessarily a case of if or when, but it's like. Well, you've done it. They've done this. It's not if you like we said, like when Disney Plus first launched and they said about nothing being R-rated. Well, there was no reason to doubt them. But now we're at a point where I was like, well, you guys have done it.
And companies at this scale are driven by data more than anything else because data feeds into money, and so you can have all the Twitter feeds, the Facebook talk about it that you want. It ends up being a very small portion of what the actual user base is. So when Disney has these numbers, which they now do have, they will base their decisions on those. They will obviously consider certain factors, social responsibility, et cetera. But ultimately, if the numbers say we will make a lot of money by putting the R-rated and such content onto Disney Plus, and we will gain more money than we will lose from people being upset and not wanting to be on the service anymore, we will put the content on there. And that data comes from the analytics. It does not come from Twitter.
No, and it's very much now like they've got a year of data. They can see how the launch of Star worked internationally, what worked, what didn't, what were the pushback points. I'd be sitting here now going, like the Kardashians look like that. Actually, we're a year on, and there's still a little bit of a pushback because primarily from Americans getting confused over it because of the branding, because they are being a bit more, it's a very global brand, but there's also just a lot of people that don't like them. The Pam and Tommy stuff was a lot less than I was expecting. There's been a much worse response to the Kardashian series than the Pam and Tommy. There was that initial push of like, okay, but I think the problem is with Pam and Tommy is the sexualization of it kind of got all the attention, and like we're still getting episodes released and no one's really talking about it. When I think, in all honesty, the better episodes are now where you're getting into the nitty-gritty of lawsuits and cases, and I think Lily James does an amazing job in the last few episodes of Pam and Tommy, but everyone was just concentrated on those first, on the Talking Willy, and it is that kind of. It it was on Gogglebox the other day, and everyone was reacting to it, and it was just great. But yeah, it is kind of that weird thing with the branding and getting it out there, and I do feel like the Marvel series are a great way of kind of doing the rated R stuff and the TVMA stuff without going down the star line. It's a kind of an interlink. Do that. Use National Geographic. Throw some TV PG-13 stuff on there and just build that out until they're ready to kind of go all in. But I like I said, they've been watching the reaction to like what's happened out of Canada and going, right, what's everyone thinking? How is this going to go down? And they probably are seeing a much bigger skew to people going, just put it on Disney Plus uncut. We can handle it.
Yeah. Again, Twitter isn't going to be their primary, but they do want to get the social temperature of things. They do want to get how people are thinking about it and what's trending and what's not. And if something trends enough, that will factor into decisions. I don't want to say Twitter is completely meaningless because it's not.
On the Kardashians front, it didn't matter what it was on. Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. That one got the same reaction everywhere. All I know is especially if I put up a story about the Kardashians series, that's going to be the most talked about thing of the day. It's just every time.
Which is exactly what they want. Yes. That's at the end of the day. You can say whatever negative things you want about the Kardashians. You can say whatever positive things you want about the Kardashians. If you're talking about it, that's a victory, period.
And as I think it was Eric Bischoff of WCW runner, he always said controversy is cash. And that was kind of, there's always money in that thing. But nevertheless, let's do a few reviews. But before we do that, a quick bit of housekeeping. Big thank you to all of our Patreon and YouTube channel members. Thank you very much for all of your support. Really helps kind of keeping everything going, paying the bills, paying all the hosting, all the bits and pieces that we have to do. So just a big shout out to our gold and diamond and platinum members, including Toki Guy, Adam, Raphael, Diona, J Blue, Dana. We've also got Ricky, Dave, Mahmad. We've got Ben, My VCR Still Works, Sabina, Joshua, Dawn, Martin, Jeremy, and Sarah. While over on the YouTubes, we have got, not on the YouTube, on Patreons, we've also got my big hello and thank you to Sarah for all of your continued support. Also to Andrew, Elliot, Jacob, Caleb, Red Marsman, Aero. We've also got Cody, Darren, and Daniel, The Juice, and Lauren. Thank you so much for all of your support. So let's jump into some of the reviews. So an upcoming Hulu/Star original coming up next week on Thursday is the first 3 episodes of The Dropout, which is a brand new drama series, which is all about this woman that she's desperate to build a company and be successful. She wants to be Steve Jobs and ends up designing a box that will do blood tests and give you a lot of data. And it's been all over the news stuff. I'll be honest, I hadn't really heard about this story until like a week or two before the series when she was suddenly popped up on our news. So I've gone into this series kind of blank, so I didn't really know too much about it. And now I've seen the first 3 episodes. I decided not to watch all of them because I wouldn't know where everybody else is. This is going to get big. I found that with Pam and Tommy. Like, I've seen the whole of Pam and Tommy series. And everyone was like, well, I don't know what I could say because I don't remember where the episodes ended. So we watched them this week. Really enjoyed this series. Amanda Siegfried, wow, she's great in this. Because there's always been that kind of weird thing of her being like this ditz, but she's really plays it straight. She's kind of this bright-eyed girl that is she kind of manipulates people a little bit, but also she's very driven, very focused, and she will do anything to succeed. It's just a really great series. I can't stress this enough. This is going to be another top-level Hulu Star original series. We're going to get new episodes every Thursday, dropping on Hulu in the US and on Disney Plus internationally. I just really enjoyed this series, and yeah, I can't wait to start watching some of the more of the episodes. But yeah, just a really good one.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I know a little bit about the true life story on this. I've encountered it in a couple of places, but I don't really know the details. And of course, it's coming alongside a couple of the trials I think popped up recently as well. My only question, how long is each episode in this case?
Good 50 minutes to an hour.
Okay. So we're looking at a solid almost 3 hours of content just
And
from
that's
this, dropping
just
later this
just
week.
on what, yeah. And
Yeah.
I think by them doing the same thing they've done with this, and like with Pam and Tommy, when they drop 3 episodes at once, you kind of can get into it a bit more, and you kind of get connected. And I think you make that. I think when you get to the end of that 3rd episode, you kind of like, oh, I'm invested in this now, and you want to know where it goes. And there's a lot of top talent in this one here. You got like Stephen Fry in here. I can't think of the guy's name. The guy from Lost, he plays the love interest. I really also I've got to look it up now because I didn't recognize him. He just looked so so different. It was, I think it's I got to bring him up. What's his name? It was
I don't know. I've banished
Michael Ironside, right? Because obviously he's been in like a load of the 1980s shows and stuff, but he's obviously a lot older, and I just did not recognize him. So he's in there, so that's pretty cool. Just in general, it's got an amazing amount of people in here. I'm really glad that they didn't end up going with Kate McKinnon as the main lead, because I really don't think she would have worked as well as Amanda did. I think she just played it a bit too comical, and I think she's quite when she'll sit there and like look into the mirror and is like trying to psych herself up, and I think it just works so much better in this one. It is a really great series, and I cannot stress. It's like if you're gonna watch this series, give it a go. It's I wouldn't say it's in the same vein as like Dope Sick, but it's that kind of, again, this high quality drama series. It's actually Searchlight Pictures' first television series. So this would have been a movie had it been 10 years ago, and it would have been like obviously had to have been sliced down, but they really had the time to talk about it. Spending time developing her relationship with her parents, with other characters, and like with the boyfriend and all the rest of it. And I think that's why the TV series benefits from these limited series, where they can kind of expand out those stories a bit more.
Yeah, we've definitely seen over the last, well, I don't know, 5 or 6 years at this point, that stories that are given the room to breathe properly typically do better. And we've also seen examples of stories that maybe take a little too much advantage of that and get bloated and try to go longer than they can just because they can, and maybe they do better if they're shorter. But I think on the whole, more often than not, giving stories like this a chance to breathe, develop people who would not even be in the movie, let alone a side character, tends to make them more impactful. And I think that's even more true of things that are based on real life events.
Yeah, and I mean, I was reading something earlier this week, and it was about how the fact of television, of removing how many episodes do we need, how many adverts do we need to bring in, what time slot do we put it into, has freed up the creative sides to make better television, because they're making the story that fits for them rather than trying to fit a format. If they need 6 episodes, 4 episodes, 8 episodes, 9 episodes, then they need shorter ones, longer ones. We don't have to worry about like where is it going to be cut for adverts. And in general, it is just making a lot better television.
Yeah, 100%. I've been saying that since Netflix started producing their own content back in the day, and including with the Marvel shows and so on. It makes so much more sense to just, how many episodes do you need? How long do you need the episodes to be? Make it work. This is not broadcast. You don't need it to be 22 minutes long to get it into the half-hour time slot. You don't need to do 22 episodes because that's what we do. Nope. You've got 6 episodes a show. Make 6 episodes. Good to go.
It's good. And like I said, this is a really top quality show. I don't know. Again, it's that kind of weird thing with these shows of like, does the binge format work better for people? But will it get people talking about it? It's going to be hard to kind of judge how this one goes. But this is just another high quality show and with the 3-week drop at once. To be honest, I think it's literally just March, because we'll be I think the amount of Thursdays there are, will be pretty much coming to the end of it at the end of March. But yeah, a great series. Can't recommend this enough. Maybe like a 4.5 out of 5. Really enjoyed it. Can't wait to watch the others. And that's about as good as you can get.
Yeah, no, that's really solid, and I'm looking forward to watching it. There's a lot about this saga that I don't know, and it's got a heck of a cast. I mean, some of the other people, I was just going through the IMDb.
Yeah.
You've got William H. Macy. He's almost always good in everything. Laurie Metcalf from the old Roseanne show. She's been doing some great work lately. And then Sam Waterston, a name I haven't seen in quite a long time, but he used to be really big in the Law and Order shows. He's a really good actor too. In fact, I think they might even be reviving Law and Order. I think I saw
Yes,
a
they
news
are.
article
Yeah,
on that.
Law and Order's coming back as is, and Disney's making, or ABC's doing LA Law. They're all coming back and doing all these shows. So also the other big release this week. Obviously, we talked about Proud Family last week, but the other big one again was another Hulu Star original. Was No Exit, a new horror, not really horror, but a thriller that dropped. It kind of dropped on Friday on Disney Plus internationally and on Hulu in the United States. I really enjoyed this movie. I thought this was great. I like 90 minutes, perfect kind of length. Great story, some twists and turns, a little bit predictable at places. Not a lot of there wasn't a lot of characters, but that kind of helped it and but I was impressed with this one. I'm not normally like a thriller kind of person, but yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. What about you?
Oh yeah, I enjoyed it. It's not going to be like one of the top movies of all time, but it's definitely a solid thriller. Keeps you kind of jumping throughout. Like you said, there are predictable bits, but there are unpredictable bits too, which kind of keeps you on your toes there. One thing that I appreciated was they got the core mystery out of the way right up front. Like the trailers make it seem like it's going to be a closed box mystery. Whose van is it, and who is trying to traffic this little girl? And then that's going to be the core of the movie. No, they nope, it's this person right here. And now the rest of the movie is them trying to silence and keep it under wraps and control the situation. It's like, okay, that I like that take on this.
Yeah, I like them. I like the way it looked. It felt a little bit like a pandemic-y movie because it had such a. It was like, right, you got 6 people on set, and that's all we've got. And it kind of like, on one hand, I go, yeah, it is in the middle of a blizzard, so therefore it would have made a little bit. But you kind of feel like, yeah, had this not been a pandemic filmed, I mean, they filmed it in New Zealand. I don't think there was, but you can definitely tell like we only need the people we need. That's it.
Well, but this is a good example of working within the restrictions of the pandemic to tell a story that works with this kind of restriction rather than taking the story you want to tell and trying to force it into pandemic restriction. We have seen more than enough shows and even a couple movies where you're just like, you really did not want to make changes to adapt to the current shooting situation, and it shows. Whereas this movie, they're like, okay, we can only have so many people. The set has to be fairly limited. What kind of story can we tell in that is still engaging? And this works.
Apparently, the book is a lot of people love the book, so they kind of were able to a lot of feedback on that one. But like I said, I don't want to go into the spoiler side of things of it because obviously that's the big part of it. But this is that breadth of filmmaking and the release schedule of giving us something different to watch. And I really, because I had this been on Netflix, I probably would have given it a go. But it might not have been this week. But this was one I kind of sat down with, like, okay, we're gonna watch it, and I'm like, yeah, no, I'm glad I watched that. Again, it's just more flavors. So I just feel like now we're getting a little bit more variety, and it's really making. We're really making like watching Disney Plus so much more fun because of having so much more choice.
Yep. And for us Americans, check it out on Hulu. It is a good thriller if you're looking for something to watch this weekend. It's about an hour and a half long, give or take. It'll keep you guessing. It's not one for kids though. There are a couple of scenes that get a bit over there. It actually, in a couple cases, like, oh wow, okay, you actually did that. Oh,
yeah,
oh, wow.
Well, I mean, it's an 18 plus here in the UK on Disney Plus, so it's kind of like I said, it is in that it's probably one of the best films of the year, but it is only February.
It's one of the best films so far this year. Yeah. It honestly, if I don't like write it down as a note, like what movies did I watch this year right now, I will probably forget about it by December. But at least so far, definitely worth checking out. And I am going to leave a note for myself to be like, don't forget about this movie. It's probably not going to be like near the top of the list, but depending on what comes out this year, it might be in contention for like somewhere low on the list.
Yeah, no, like I said, I enjoyed this one. I definitely enjoyed it more than The Kingsman. I definitely feel like
yes. Yes.
But no, so there we go. So that was, like I said, that was the big new release. Also this week, I did happen to watch Turning Red. I did put up my social media response, which was what I'm allowed to do, because my review will be coming up. I think it might be, I can't remember exactly. It'll be before the movie breaks. I will be able to talk about it, but it is good. I enjoyed it. As my short social media, yeah. It's got a lot of stuff in there, so yeah. So look forward to seeing that one coming up. So yeah, I've watched a good couple of stuff. So new episodes of The Walking Dead. And, yeah, it's just been a really good week for just a bit of variety on for me at least. But there we go. Thank you guys for checking out this episode of the What's on Disney Plus podcast. As I said, remember to go check us out over at the website, favorite, bookmark, join the mailing list, subscribe on like social media and stuff to keep up with all the latest. And on that note, guys, thank you very much. See you guys soon. Later. Thank you very much for watching this video. Make sure you go check us out over at whatsondisneyplus.com. Like, follow, and subscribe. Also, a huge thank you to all of our supporters over on Patreon and also on our YouTube channel memberships. And I shall see you guys in another video. Laters.